Hey everybody, it's GombaX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have another premiere draft of the Strixhaven format, and we have two really fun, really solid rares to choose from here, and I'm probably going to disappoint a lot of people by leaning towards Urza's Rage. Here we have Cody Vociferous Codex, which is a 3-mana 1/4. You can't cast permanent spells, but you can spend 4 mana, tap this, add 1 mana of every color, and when you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery with lesser mana value, and you can cast it without paying its mana cost. So this is really good. You don't even have to be 5 colors for this card to be good. You could just be 2, 3, and you can just cast like big spells like Explosive Welcome, and then you always cascade into your next spell. The biggest problem with this is that you can't cast permanent spells while it's on the field, but usually it's going to do powerful enough things without it to try to go off that way. Especially if you have instants and sorceries that make creatures. That being said, Cody is really hard to build around because you do want cards like the summonings that you can place in your main deck to be creatures even when you have a Cody on board. And Urza's Rage is just always going to be solid, and it's a really easy card to build around. It's just a removal spell. You don't have to build around it at all. It goes into any red deck, and it's pretty fantastic. And if you draw it in the late game, you get to do 10 damage to somebody. I'm just going to take Urza's Rage there because it's so much of an easier card to wrap your head around. So it's something that I know for me personally I'm going to consistently do better with. Where with Cody, I might draft around it too hard, I might not draft around it enough. Things could go very poorly on that front. Here I'm pretty happy to take a Rip Apart after taking Urza's Rage, because we are going to want to be in red with this great red removal spell, and now we just get another one for Lorehold, 2 mana for 3 to a creature Planeswalker, and it's also main deckable artifact and enchantment hate, so that's pretty solid. Emergent Sequence is great in those green decks. You get to ramp up and get a creature on the board. Other than that, out of this pack, not a ton really. Fractal Summoning being a solid lesson. The campuses are always good. Elemental Masterpiece great in the late game and Prismari decks. And we get past another Rip Apart here. So I guess we'll just go right into Lorehold removal. Grab all of the red-white removal spells available to us and see where that leads us. But most likely it's going to be Lorehold here. The other notable cards in this pack are Frost Trickster being a nice evasive threat that also slows your opponent's creatures down. Mage Hunter's Onslaught being another great cheap removal spell, this one in black. And not much other than that. Pest Summoning being a fine lesson and Field Trip being a fine lured card. Now we don't have much in Lorehold. We have Stonerise Spirit and First Day of Class. Neither of these cards are cards that I really like that much, especially not First Day of Class. It's kind of weird. All these packs have had like 2 campuses in them. I don't know how often that'll happen on average. So I think like the best cards in this pack are like the blue ones, like Quandrix Pledge Mage, Burying Books, Fractal Summoning, that kind of stuff, but I guess we can maybe end up in blue-red, use a Quandrix Pledge Mage in a Prismari deck, but with double Rip Apart, we are leaning pretty heavily to Lorehold here. Yeah, I mean, a 2-mana 1/2 flyer's not great. It's a very filler card here, but I don't know, unless there's something just like exceptional in another color, I think I'm sticking to Lorehold, and none of the other cards are like insane, they're just pretty good. Now we do have an Eager First Year, which is great to curve. Just a 2-mana 2/2 on curve, and when you cast removal spells with this, like if you play this on turn 2 and they play a good blocker on their turn 3, then you just like kill their blocker and give it an additional power, so it's very good in aggressive decks when you're just trying to curve out. Introduction to Annihilation is a solid lesson. We don't have any learn yet, but we would want that at some point if we pick up learn spells. Explosive Welcome is fun, but it's not going to be good in Lorehold. This is a Prismari kind of card because Prismari, the blue-red color scheme, does have cards like Spectacle Mage that can make these really big, expensive spells cheaper to cast. Lorehold really doesn't. I'm just going to take an Eager First Year here. Try to do something aggressive. With 3 cheap removal spells, we can definitely lean into that and grab another one here. Heated Debate here. Pick 6. This is really nice to see. Even a Flunk is a great cheap removal spell, but it's not in our colors, but it's pretty nice to see these going this late here. 3 mana instant speed can't be countered, not even by ward abilities, and it does 4 to a creature Planeswalker. Just a super great removal spell, and not much I would take over that when we are in red. Now we grab our first lesson, Reduce to Memory. Not a great one, but if your opponent has a really important threat to get rid of, you can turn it into a 3/2 spirit. Obviously, giving them something out of their card is not great. You would prefer something like Heated Debate that just kills it and they don't get anything back. But the fact that this is a lesson means that we can pick it up only when we really need it as like a safety button. So Make Your Mark is good when you're really aggressive, because then you can attack in, trade your creature up into something bigger, and turn it into a 3/2 afterwards. Pillar Drop Warden better for the slower decks, especially for like Prismari stuff when you have these big spells like Snow Day that you can bring back for a massive effect again. I think we're more leaning towards an aggressive Make Your Mark kind of deck than a slower sort of hammer dropper deck there. So we have one Reduced to Memory. So we don't have a ton of lessons here. We could take Introduction to Prophecy to get more of them, or we can take Enthusiastic Study because it's a great pump spell that learns, or Study Break, or Guiding Voice. Actually, all three of these are great ways to learn in an aggressive deck, because they just make your current threats a little better, or get blockers out of the way, as well as learning. I actually like all of these a little for this kind of deck. I guess I'll take Guiding Voice just because it's the cheapest, so it could allow us to cast a bunch of spells in one turn and maybe make a good use out of Eager First Year's effect. The fact that Guiding Voice only costs 1 mana means also when you draw it in the late game, it's a learn spell that you can cast and then immediately cast whatever you've learned for, even if it's like a 4 mana lesson. So I think I like Guiding Voice there over the other two. And here we'll just take Enthusiastic Study. Incredibly late Frost Trickster there though, so that may have been an option. Yeah, we're not going to play Claim the Firstborn. There's just no sacrifice effects in this format. We could definitely play Lorehold Pledge Mage. Very nice with instant speed removal and combat tricks, and we're already looking to try to run both of those. Ooh, a really fun Mythic Rare card out of the Mystical Archives here, but not something we're looking to play in aggressive strategy. This is a 7 mana spell to gain 7 life, put it back into your library 7th from the top, and then when you cast it again later in the game after you redraw it, you just immediately win. So a very slow win condition, but a very fun one for that kind of deck. What is this? If we're playing it on red, Flamethrower Sonata. Discard a card, draw a card. If you discard an instant or sorcery, it deals damage equal to its mana value to a creature planeswalker you don't control. Yeah, 2 mana removal spell there, but you do have to have the big instants and sorceries for it to do damage. Don't love that. Pigment Storm's a great removal spell at the top end of an aggressive deck because, sure, while it is a lot of mana, 5 mana to kill something, you are dealing the excess damage to your opponent's face and getting a blocker out of the way, so that's good. Start from scratch is a fine lesson, gives you that artifact hate when you need it. Pilgrim's a fine creature here. I'm just going to take a Pigment Storm, I think. Although we do have a ton of removal right now, to be fair. Do love having 1 Environmental Sciences in the lesson board, so anytime that I need to grab a land, I can. See how we're looking on curve and what we're doing here. We only have 2 2-mana creatures right now, and one of them is just not very good, just the Stonerise Spirit here. Yeah, we really don't have a lot of creatures. We only have 4. I could even see taking Eager First Year because our creature count is pretty low. We definitely want more. Eager First Year and Silver Quill Pledge Mage, the best kind of creatures for this deck. There's also Academic Dispute, which is a cheap way to learn, and it can also get an important creature off the board if you have a big enough attacker. Yeah, I like Dispute, Eager First Year, Silver Quill, Pledge Mage, Environmental Sciences, tons of decent options here. I think I will just take Environmental Sciences. It's the least likely card to wheel because it is completely colorless and everybody wants to have at least 1 copy in their lessons board. Definitely going to take another Heated Debate here, but I would love an Inkling Summoning here as well. A great lesson to grab, giving you an evasive threat, a 2/1 flyer to get in the sky. Now we get that Blood Age General for a 2 mana 2/2. That's solid. Inkling Summoning, as I said before, is a solid lesson. Stonebinder's Familiar. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. How many cards do we have that exile stuff? We have Stonerise Spirit that exiles a thing. Yeah, I mean, if you can get the combos to go with this, this could be good, like a 1-mana 2/2 or 3/3 over the course of the game, but we just don't have any right now, and that seems pretty hard to try to get the combos to work with. So I'm thinking it's Blood Age General or Inkling Summoning. I'm actually going to go with the Inkling Summoning here. I think we should be able to get some of just the random like 2-mana white creatures pretty late, generally. Now we have Stonebound Mentor or Elemental Summoning. Do love me an Elemental Summoning. It's also a hybrid cost, so it's the kind of card that gets scooped up a lot earlier than the multi-card cards like Stonebound Mentor. So I will scoop that up here. None of this is that exciting to me. I guess Pillar Drop Warden would be the only thing that we may play here. I could see trying to go off with Clever Lumimancer. I feel like that's probably not a great thing to do, but it would be really fun if we succeeded at one time. We do have a lot of instants and sorceries right now. 5 instants, 4 sorceries, a lot of learn, so we could cast multiple in one turn. Attack with this as a 4 or 5. Like, play this turn 1 or turn 2, and then on turn 3 we could Guiding Voice into Environmental Sciences. That would be 2 instant sorceries. Attack with that as a 4 or 5. I don't know. It's probably not the right thing to do, but I really want to try it out because that sounds pretty hilarious. Star Pupil's a fine aggressive creature. A little 1-mana 1/1 that you start attacking with in the early game, and once it's too small to get in, you cash it in by making one of your other creatures bigger. So it's probably better than Lumimancer, but we'll see. Expanded Anatomy is a good lesson in aggressive decks, making one of your creatures like big when you send it in, so that's an option too. Yeah, I'd probably take that over the Star Pupil. But I do like the Star Pupil. Now we have Start from Scratch or Introduction to Annihilation for lessons to choose from. The Artifact Hate or the Panic button here. I guess we don't have a Panic button yet. Actually, we do. We have a Reduce to Memory if we just really need to kill something. Yeah, I'm just going to take Start from Scratch. Okay, my Start from Scratch has just disappeared. Interesting. We're definitely taking 2-mana creatures now, anytime we see them, because we need more creatures and we need them on curve for this kind of deck with the pump spells we have, so really nice to see the Eager First Year and the Blood Age General come back there. And last pick Relic Sloth that we could play if we need the filler cards. We'd ideally not end up playing that here. I'm going to take a Combat Professor. This is just a great creature for an aggressive deck. 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer. Give that +1/+0 and Vigilance to a creature every turn. Really, really solid. Super good card for a common. Out of what else we'd like in here, maybe an Eager First Year, a Tome Shredder, some kind of early aggressive creature, or even a Pillar Drop Rescuer is pretty great in the late game in these aggressive decks. Bring one of your early creatures back to your hand and get a flyer on the board in the late game. It's going to be a pretty easy Combat Professor, that pick, though. Now, Dust Speaker's fine in the late game because it allows you to essentially draw 2 every turn that you attack with this and put an instant or sorcery from your grave on bottom. So that could be good. How many +1/+1 counters do we have here? Because if we get a lot of use out of Proliferate, we can play Tezzeret's Gambit here just as a 3-mana pay 2 life draw 2 and Proliferate. Proliferate meaning we get to put extra +1/+1 counters on everything that has counters. We have Guiding Voice. I think that's it. I think Tezzeret's Gambit is mainly just for like Silver Quill decks. Yeah, we don't have a lot of +1/+1 counters, so Gambit's not great here. We do still draw cards off of it, which is nice. I think I actually like Study Break or Star Pupil here. I'm just going to take the Study Break. That's just a great way to close out a game. Once the Quandrix decks kind of stabilize and all of a sudden they have like 6/6s and 7/7s out. Basically, one of the few ways that you can break through and get that last bit of damage out is by just like tapping their blockers and sending in with the squad. So Study Break's really good in those positions. We've got a good amount of lessons now. I think we've been drafting them pretty highly, getting Inkling Summoning, Expanded Anatomy, Elemental Summoning, Reduced to Memory, Environmental Sciences, all that. So I don't think we need the Spirit Summoning. So we are good to take the Illustrious Historian here, the fine aggressive creature. Make sure we have as many of those as we need, and I think I'll do it again with an Eager First Year. I don't like Detention Vortex because your opponent could just spend 3 mana to kill it, and don't love Sudden Breakthrough when there are combat tricks in this set that are a combat trick as well as learning, like Enthusiastic Study or Guiding Voice to a certain extent, so I don't really like Sudden Breakthrough. Just going to take another Eager First Year. Now we could take a Spirit Summoning. We could also take a Make Your Mark, just to have more little cheap combat tricks. Really don't want the 2 mana 1/4, because we are trying to be pretty aggressive here. Defend the Campus is an option, but we're doing pretty good on removal, although our removal only kills small stuff. Double Heated Evade, Urza's Rage, and Rip Parts. But we do have reduced memory to kill like really big things. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with Spirit Summoning. Now, we have 12 creatures, so I definitely want to scoop those up. I would prefer the cheap ones than the big ones. We only have 1 3-mana creature here, so I'll take a Silver Quill Pledge Mage, a 3-mana 3/1 that whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, give it Flying or Lifelink till end of turn, hoping to wheel that other Pillar Drop Rescuer, because one of those would still be fine. We already have an Environmental Sciences, we don't need a second. We can just draw it whenever we need it. Off of our Learn cards, I'll take a Star Pupil here over a Guiding Voice, because I am low on creatures for an aggressive strategy. Although there's also Biblioplex Assistant, which we can play as a 4-mana 2/1 flyer and get one of our burn spells back. I actually like the Biblioplex Assistant here, now that I'm thinking of that. I do like Silver Quill Pledge Mage better than the 5-mana creature or the dorky 1/1. We just don't have a lot of 3-mana creatures here, and the Pledge Mage is a pretty good one. Now we have Tome Shredder, Pillar Drop Rescuer, and Eager First Year. Kind of like Tome Shredder. We've got a good amount of Learn cards and they're pretty cheap. Pillar Drop Rescuer, I have said that is good at the top end of the curve, but then I keep not wanting to grab it. Definitely not a Pillar Drop Warden deck, so we'll take the Star Pupil now. Take another Spirit Summoning over the Beaming Defiance because we have better pump spells. We're definitely not an Explosive Welcome deck. Another Relic Sloth there just to up the creature count. And we'll see how this does. Probably not playing Cogwork Archivist here, and we might cut a land. Probably not. But I don't think that this is going to be an 18 land deck, whereas a lot of decks in this format do end that way. Alright, let's build this Lorehold deck. Always happy to end up in Lorehold. So we'll see how things pan out from here. Start from Scratch is back. We'll throw that in the sideboard. That vanished like a century ago. Ooh, we have some cards we could throw the fancy Japanese art on. That's really cool. That Urza's Rage. Alright. 4 cuts. We did end up with 17 creatures, which is very nice. I mean, honestly, with the great removal that we have here, I don't actually even really want the Study Break at the end here. I think I don't want the Make Your Mark. Cut one more card. I could see cutting one of the Relic Sloths now. Maybe even just the Lumamancer. That doesn't seem incredible. I did want to try it out here, but it's definitely a bit iffy. What's our curve? Average 2.8. We have 1, We have 2 cards to learn with. I kind of do want a study break in here just because I want a 3rd card to learn with the amount of good lessons we have. So we throw in a study break over a relic sloth. And that cuts the curve down even a bit lower. Curve down to 2.6 now, and then now maybe we can cut a land. 15 white, 12 red. Cut a mountain here. Yeah, I'm going to try this out. This is a pretty aggressive deck here. But I do like the idea. I mean, we just got so many good, cheap removal spells early on there. So we just want to, like, dump a 1/1, dump a 2/2, and then every time they play a creature, kill it. Every time they don't play a creature, play one of our own. And hope that curves out well. I think that's definitely the plan. Study break, great in the late game against those Quandrix and Prismari decks that can ramp into the big spells, that play a bunch of creatures on the board, so we can tap down the big things and still keep chipping in. Biblioplex Assistant, Silverquill Pledge Mages to get over cluttered board states with their flying. We also have the Inkling Summoning that we can learn for a flying creature. I definitely like this deck. But we'll see how it pans out. Just use those Chandra sleeves. Get aggressive today. Alright, here we are in round 1. This is not the ideal hand for us, not having a creature out till turn 4, but we have both of our colors. We have Heated Debate turn 3. Enthusiastic Study can learn for a 5-mana 4/4 and Elemental Summoning. I'm still going to keep it, but we're definitely looking more defensive here than we would like. Our opponent is doing what our plan was in this deck, starting out with that turn 1 clever Lumamancer. And we did draw into a 2-drop though, which is good. Our 2/2 Eager First Year. Opponent starts with triple white and grabs a Pilgrim of the Ages, which only grabs at planes. They might even be mono white. I have played against a mono black deck in this format once, and that was very surprising, but it was cool to see. So I'm going to play my land first and then attack. If they make any blocks, we can Enthusiastic Study, get some damage in and learn. And if they don't, we can just cast our clever Lumamancer. Alright, that's fine to me. We could also hold on to Heated Debate just in case, but I think I'd rather get my own Lumamancer out. Dramatic Finale. Creature tokens they control get +1/+1. Whenever one of their non-tokens dies, they get a 2/1 Inkling with flying. So we need to not trade with any of their creatures as long as we can avoid it. This card is going to be brutal here. Yeah, every creature they control that dies replaces itself with a 3/2 flying because all of the tokens get +1/+1. Yeah, that's really not good for us. Do I just not even attack here then? I think I don't. There's their red source, so it looks like they are on lore hold here. And they just needed to play all of their white sources first so they could get that Dramatic Finale turn 4. Silverquill Pledge Mage is the play, followed by an Illustrious Historian. Things are looking really bad for us because we really can't afford to block because everything we block turns into a 3/2 flyer. And if we don't block anything, then we are taking just a boatload of damage because now they have 7 power on board. Well, this ability only triggers once each turn, so if we can... I guess if they attack with a bunch of creatures, it would be worth it to block with multiple. So that's good. That's very important to keep in mind here. Definitely like just attacking with Combat Professor, because because otherwise they just make one block and it's not great for us. We can Tome Shredder and then we're not holding anything up, or we can hold up a Heated Debate. I don't think Tome Shredder blocks particularly well here. We can also hold up an Enthusiastic Study, but I don't know if that'll change anything really. I guess being able to buff Lumimancer is a pretty good thing to hold up. Blade Historian, so attacking creatures they control have double strike. Alright, Heated Debate is almost definitely going to be the play, so we can kill that out of nowhere and kill everything they attack with. Yeah, that'll be huge. I could also Enthusiastic Study. What are my best blocks here if I study? I really can't block well against a double strike, so I think I have to just Heated Debate Blade Historian. For sure. The 2/3s go on the 2/1s, and the 3/2 trades into the 3/1. They don't get an Inkling because they already got one. Yeah, that was very, very glad I kept that Heated Debate. Now we keep Enthusiastic Study here to save Combat Professor. They don't get a Inkling from their Inkling dying at least, which is good. Alright, we save Combat Professor, and then we cast a Tome Shredder here. Since our plan is just to cast a Tome Shredder after this, we can grab just our biggest creature, so grab like a 5-mana 4/4. Although we want evasive threats, I think we'd rather grab an Inkling or an Expanded Anatomy. I think I like grabbing an Inkling. And actually, I'd rather play that than the Tome Shredder here, so I attack with both of those in the sky. Didn't attack with the Lumimancer there, because even if they blocked exactly as they did, they probably would have blocked Lumimancer, and then they just have another 3/2 flyer here, and we don't want to give them any flyers, because we're trying to win that way in the sky, so that we can get around this card's effect by just avoiding trading as much as possible. They're going to rip apart our token, which is interesting. They must have a way to kill the Combat Professor then if they chose to kill the token. So I don't love that. They give me the oops, but maybe it was a mistake. I was gonna say maybe it's all a ruse. Play our Tome Shredder here, we'll start making that bigger. We have 3 instants in graveyard for it. I do have the mana to scry in my upkeep and rip apart, so I'll probably do that. We don't have anything to bring instants or sorceries from our graveyard back. We did cut our Pillar Drop Warden and our Cogwork thing. I guess we draw another Rip Apart. We'll just be using these on any Inkling tokens they make. Until then, I think we're just attacking with Combat Professor every turn. Because if we attack with anything else, if one of their creatures dies, it turns into a 3/2 in the sky, which can trade with Combat Professor, which is pretty horrible for me. We know they have Historian to make another 3/2 and Pilgrim to get another 2/1 in their hand, but nothing flying right now. We get to hold Tome Shredder back as a pretty good blocker, but we're still probably letting any damage they send in for a while here, being at 18 life, still not wanting to give them any Inklings, but we can give them a couple with these Rip Aparts. We can kill 2 of them. So if they like send in Tome Shredder here, we could block with ours, make it a 4/4, let them turn into an Inkling, and then just kill their Inkling. But again, taking 3 damage is not a big loss here, so I think I would just let it happen. So, Plarg, Dean of Chaos. They can discard a card to draw a card, or they can spend 5 mana to look through their library until they hit a 3 mana or less card and cast it for free. That's probably pretty bad for us, especially if they have cards like Rip Apart that'll likely hit Combat Professor. We may want to kill that post-combat. See what we have on top here. Land, get that out of here. What are we drawing to now? Another land. So... yeah, I think we attack with Combat Professor. I guess Plarg, like, they have to hit something that kills Combat Professor off of Plarg or they die. So maybe we don't do anything? Because if they just hit a flyer, we can kill the flyer. But if they hit a removal spell, then that just, like, that puts a big wall against us. I feel like they're the kind of deck that would have, like, 3 mana or less removal, like Heated Debates. If we kill Plarg now, they have to top deck a flyer or a removal spell just as the first card on top. If we don't kill Plarg now, they have to hit one out of either their draw step or just the next viable 3 or less card. So I feel like that just digs them a lot deeper. So I want to kill Plarg right now. Now it's just entirely up to the top deck because we can rip apart the Inkling. They're on the think tank here. Drawn 1 card. We'll see if they go to any combat. No combat. They're going to bring back the Pilgrims. They only have 1 red up, so I'm pretty sure. I can't speak. Well, I'm 100% sure Rip Apart just wins it because they have played land. We know they have nothing in hand. We'll just make the Tome Shredder bigger. Rip that Inkling out of the sky. We're just going through the motions here. Study Break's a great draw too. And I guess we could do that instead if we really want. Why not? Grab an Elemental Summoning, but there's the concession. We get in for the flying lethal damage that turn. So that'll put us to 1-0 with this aggressive Lorehold deck. Even managed to punch through the dramatic finale. Pretty scary card to run up against. But thanks to having the evasive creatures in our hand, we managed to just push through damage without getting into positions where we were trading creatures that often. Alright, so we are going first here. We've got 3 2-mana creatures. We have a Heated Debate once we hit our 3rd land and Tome Shredder. Super keepable here, definitely aggressive, and we're on the play. So I like it. I like playing the Eager First Years first. We don't have a ton of spirits in here, so it's unlikely that the Blood-Age General's ability comes into play too often, whereas the Eager First Year, as soon as we have to kill something with a Heated Debate, we'll get an extra damage out of that. But I'd rather Tome Shredder... yeah, Tome Shredder gets in for more damage because of the haste. It just starts smacking in immediately, so might as well. They do have some sort of instant here off of the 2 mana, maybe a Study Break of their own. Could be a Shock from the Mystical Archives to do 2 damage. Lightning Helix from the Mystical Archives, 1 step above. Very good card here, 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. And Stonebound Mentor is the play. I kind of want to go wide first and then Heated Debate that next turn, because we get a lot more damage out of doing that if they don't have another blocker. We can also set up for the surprise Magecraft of the Eager First Years to have them trade up into something, as they will be 3 2s on the turn that I cast Heated Debate. So if they play like a 4 toughness creature here, I could attack all, Heated Debate the 4 toughness, and then the 2-2 trades up into the 3-3 with its Magecraft ability. Combat Professor, give that Vigilance. Definitely just going to take it. Yep, with Heated Debate, we can kill both here. So I think we I'm not sure if we attack all. We can also play Relic Sloth and still hold off on the Heated Debate. Although I think it is pretty important to kill this Combat Professor quickly here. It does hit us for 3 damage, giving it Self-Vigilance next turn. We get on 13. Attacking all is super suspicious too. I guess I will do the Relic Sloth first, go for the Heated Debate next turn. It is possible that we get even more trades up by waiting till next turn as well. Uh-oh. Waiting for the server here. Let me make sure my internet's good. Yep. I'm opening up several other websites fine. Okay, alright, server. I hope we're good here. Uh-oh, Relic Sloth is just gonna chill in the, I don't even know what this is called, the preview pane, something like that. The stack. Yeah, it's just chilling on the stack, you know? Heated Debate on a Relic Sloth. Not ideal. And Combat Professor going to give the Stonebound Mentor Vigilance again. Does that mean Combat Professor is just going to attack and become tapped? Actually really happy with that. We could try to turn things around and go back on the aggressive here this way. Star Pupil's really inconsequential here. And Rip Apart is the draw. Rip Apart's pretty good, but I could only cast one of these this turn. I think I'd rather go for the instant speed one to just get him out of nowhere. I probably shouldn't have sent in Blood Age General, because now if they block Blood Age General, then I have to like Heated Debate on the Mentor and kill Combat Professor later. Yeah, that's not awesome. Now we kill just Combat Professor next turn. It is stopping just as much damage, because they keep giving the Mentor the Vigilance and the extra power. But now there's the 4 toughest creature that just wins the game. Radiant Scroll Wielder, the thorn in my side, my least favorite card in the whole format. I did beat the last Radiant Scroll Wielder that I played against, and I have drawn into another Heated Debate, so I can kill it right now. But then I am taking 3 from Combat Professor, which is scary. Yeah, I mean, we just gotta kill the Scroll Wielder. We can't let him just like Lightning Helix and Heated Debate us again. If they have a pump spell, we're dead no matter what, so may as well send in all the damage. Go down to 2 life, and an Ardent Dust Speaker is the play, which unfortunately has 4 toughness. So we are not going to be able to attack into that well. Yeah, that's also super bad for us. Because we could attack with everybody and just hit them for 2, but then we lose the first year, they lose a pupil, but then Dust Speaker's a 4 or 5. I mean, I guess we could maybe put them in a position where attacking in with Dust Speaker isn't likely to work well, because Dust Speaker has a great attack ability, being able to cast the next 2 cards out of their library. They just throw one of their instants back on bottom, and then they draw 2, basically. It's been a very aggressive matchup. And our Relic Sloth is just assisting us from the stack. Lorehold Pledge Mage. Yep. That is a really good blocker. That absolutely helps the Ardent Dust Speaker attack in this turn. Although, I guess if they cast that right now, they don't have the mana up to cast things off of Dust Speaker, so it's unlikely for that to send in here. Just play that first to be safe. I'm going to hold on to this land. We do have a lot of Learn cards that would let us discard a card and draw a card, although pretty sure if we draw anything with Learn, we would rather grab a Lesson. I think it's pretty unlikely that we'll be like needing to play 2 lands in 1 turn later. We can also just scare them with our secrets. Hopefully get them to play a little more defensively, because if they play aggressively here, we are pretty doomed. We're at 2 life right now. Study break just kills us, I think. Tap 2 of our blockers. We only have 2 blockers now. We go block, block, take 1, but we lose 2 of our creatures for absolutely no value, which is basically the game there. They just draw 2 lands off of the Dust Speaker, so at least there's that, but we're forced to make really bad blocks here. I mean, I guess if I draw a removal spell, if I draw a learn card, I could win, actually. Urza's Rage. That doesn't do it. But if I drew like a Guiding Voice, I could win, because Guiding Voice puts a counter on one of these. They both get the Magecraft trigger, and then I grab my 5 mana removal spell from the side. If I have one of those, I don't remember if I did. Let me check the sideboard. Anything that would kill that creature. I guess I wouldn't win, because I don't have the 5 mana exile creature draw card. I just have the one that gives them another 3/2. So Urza's Rage, we don't have the mana to kick it here. Off of blocks, we can't survive because they just have 4 attackers, so we just have to send in and hope they don't block. If we use Urza's Rage to kill that, these are just 3/2s. We put them to 1, whatever. Just send in for 4 here. So close. Put them to 1 either way, because all of them do 3 damage. The spell and the 2 creatures on board there. Super close game there. The Lorehold aggro mirror match. But our opponent had the larger creatures in the late game there. So 1-1, even start here as we head into round 3. Playing against some mythic players, let's go. So we are playing against the best limited players on Arena, so that is always stressful. I will keep this 7. They start off with that Eye Twitch, very good blocker for our Illustrious Historian. Very good creature to draw out a removal spell like Urza's Rage, because either way they get value when it dies. I like going Historian turn 2 into the Pledge Mage turn 3. I've got multiples of those as well. Just take the trade here. I would really rather not use an Urza's Rage to kill an Eye Twitch. I think Illustrious Historian is my most expendable card out of all of these, because it does turn into a 3/2 later if it dies now. So we'll just get that right out of the way, because it's an annoying blocker for pretty much everything else I have, because all my stuff is 3/1s right now. Field Trip, so they're just setting up for the late game. Grab a forest, ramp up a bit, and learn another lesson. They have a Containment Breach to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and an Inkling summoning to make a 2/1 flyer. So Containment Breach is kind of a weird one here. We'll make sure not to play any artifacts or enchantments. We get to play our Lumimancer and one of these, or we get to play just the Silver Quill Pledge Mage. We don't have enough white mana to cast both of these. I think I would rather just play another Pledge Mage here. Probably want to use Urza's Rage next turn, and then we can slam in with all of that. We could cast Urza's Rage and Lumimancer. We could also do Study and Lumimancer next turn. Sedgemoor Witch. That does make some pests, doesn't it? Whenever they cast or copy an instant or sorcery, they create a 1/1 pest. Well, that does block the Pledge Mages quite well. If they don't get flying, so let's make sure to give them flying here and also kill that witch. This can't be countered, so it can't be countered by ward abilities, so we don't have to pay the 3. I'll decline to pay the 3, and I'll give flying. Attack for 6 here, put him down to 11. We can attack for 9 in the sky by casting an Enthusiastic Study now. There's a Witherbloom Pledge Mage, so if we get 2 more damage, we can kill them. Do we have any lessons for only 2 mana that would add any more damage? I don't think there are any. Start from scratch, reduce to memory, environmental sciences, inkling summoning. Yeah, none of these are 2 mana. Enthusiastic Study does put them to 2, so it does seem quite good. Just grab expanded whatever, I think. Just grab some kind of instant or sorcery to play next turn and give them flying again next turn. We could also buff Clever Lumimancer. That would be a 5/4, so they have to block with Pledge Mage or they die. I guess they could like block there. They might get Pledge Mage out of the way. I don't think we need to get their Pledge Mage out of the way when we're just flying over. Could also see an Inkling Summoning being good here, but we can't play it this turn. They are gaining life, so we probably do need to get in for like extra damage if we can. I could see a reduce to memory so that we can kill any flyer they play. Start from scratch would only kill an Inkling, but reduce to memory seems like a great pick here. Just kill anything that they play with reach or flying next turn. That very likely just closes things out. Start from scratch would be solid as well. That would be able to kill the 2/1 Inkling, but reduce to memory covers more outs that they could have. Now they just have to have the removal to kill both of those. And it looks like they did not have it, so that will put us to 2 and 1. With our Urza's Rage deck box. With our boring, aggressive Lorehold deck when we could have made a Cody deck here. Cody just is a terrifying card to me. Just to play against and to play with. Well, we're 1 mana away from casting all of these Pledge Mages, Silver Quill and Lorehold. Opponent's on the play, so we have time to draw that land. We are drawing on the first turn. It's definitely an awkward keep, but I'm going to go with it. Zephyr Boots will start things off from our opponent. That equips to give flying and the ability to draw a card and discard a card whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage. We do draw into our mountain pretty swiftly there, which is nice. Opponent doesn't have any plays on turn 3. Not casting any instants or sorceries anytime soon, but with nothing on the board, I'd still rather play the Pledge Mage, because this can trade up into any 3 toughness creature. The Lorehold Pledge Mage can't unless I'm casting something else. Looks like they're still not casting anything. So I want to attack before I do anything else, so I have Heated Debate in case they play like a Burrog Befuddler or something. But I think even then I would just let them trade. So we hit for 3, and I guess I just cast another one of these. Eureka Moment is the play from our opponent, so they're doing the classic Quandrix stuff, just ramping up. Nothing in the early game, just ramping up into probably some massive fractals as soon as they can. Accomplished Alchemist is a big old blocker. And a Decisive Denial to have those 2 fight. Sure, so we still have one of our 3/1s, but that's it. I can cast 2 creatures here, the First Year and the Historian, or I can just Heated Debate to give flying, but Heated Debate doesn't even kill anything, so that seems like a very poor play. I think I'd rather just dump out 2 creatures. Pass turn. 2/5 blocker is going to be pretty annoying until we hit our second red mana. Zephyr Boots is going to go on the Alchemist, so that might be attacking in here. Be pretty happy if it does. Alright, so that's 1 blocker out of the way. They are drawing and discarding. A Scurrid Colony that does have reach, and as soon as they play 1 more land, that'll be a 4/4, so that is definitely what is getting debated. I can Pigment Storm it as well, but I'd rather save Pigment Storm for something that has more toughness, like the Accomplished Alchemist. So if I Heated Debate here, I can Heated Debate, and then I trade my 3/2 into their 2/2. This just gets in with flying, and then they just have a 1/1 and 2/5 out. Seems solid to me. I assume they take the trade here. I guess they only have 1 card in their hand, so we can just try to win this through card advantage, just putting the pressure on. So we can trade the 2/1 down into a 1/1 and then just make a 3/2 later. That seems like just not bad, because otherwise this is just not attacking in for forever, basically, anyway. I expect both the ground creatures are going to trade here, and then we have our 3/1 versus their 2/5, but we have the removal for that 2/5. They've only got the 1 card in hand. We've got some more threats we can play out over the course of this game. There's a Field Trip, which is a pretty great play here. Grabs them another land and learns. So it grabs them a land, and they get to cast another thing. Grabbing a Fractal Summoning. Well, we will plan on just flying over that, although they do have the Zephyr Boots, so we'll need to draw a way to kill those. So we need to draw a Learn card. Do I want to go wide here, or do I want to get rid of their creature? I can get rid of their creature and smack them for 3, put them down to 11. Or I can just play like a Relic Sloth so I can get around a single giant fractal that way. Yeah, I like the Relic Sloth here. I guess if their other card in hand is a counterspell, that would be bad. There comes the Fractal. They save that 2 mana up so they could counter something. The fact that they held 2 mana up here pretty much guarantees they've got something. Yeah, 1 mana of any color and 1 green. So they've got maybe the 2 mana spell that counters an instant or sorcery. So I don't love casting Pigment Storm here, but the problem is they have what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 9 mana out. They're literally never not going to hold up 2 mana at this point. It's just impossible that they'll be in a position where they don't. So I think we just go for it. Again, I'm pretty sure this is just the counter spell, but what are we really going to do here otherwise? Flying doesn't do anything for us here. It's not the counter spell, so Relic Sloth does actually get in. Or it's just Arcane Subtraction. Okay. So just for another Fractal here. Fair enough. So I killed the big old Fractal instead of the 2/5, because while the 2/5 was flying, so I could maybe get in for more damage this turn, it'll help more in the long run to kill the 5/5 than 2/5, because they just get to move the flying around. The flying is from the equipment that they have. They can put that onto all their Fractals and stuff. Well, my 3/1 can trade up into their 6/6, or I can also just give it flying here when I do the enthusiastic study. Kind of like trading up into the 6/6 here because we get to learn off of it as well. Let's just send in. If they don't block, we'll just play like a 5-mana card or something. Do lifelink this turn. And grab the start from scratch to get rid of their flying, maybe? No, because now we just have Biblioplex Assistant. We just have a 2/1 flyer. So it doesn't seem that important. Kind of like reduce to memory against this kind of deck. If they have another giant fractal, we can turn it into a 3/2. I could see that. I could also just see making a 4/4 eventually. Don't really think an Inkling is good right now. So, like, start for scratch or reduce to memory, I think, here. So I'm going to grab the start from scratch, actually. So any of my flying threats are a big deal later. They're going to go ahead and draw a discard here. Because, yeah, we also get to shut off that ability, which is pretty important. It makes it so our opponent top decks a lot better than us. We'll just draw more valuable cards at this point in the game. They discarded a Frost Trickster, so their hand must be sweet, whatever these two cards are. Maybe a counterspell for the start from scratch. Let us find out, I think. So Biblioplex Assistant puts one of our instants or sorceries engraved back on top, so we get like a Pigment Storm back. That's pretty good. Enthusiastic Study would be great too. There's gotta be some kind of instant that maybe buffs the Pledge Mage here. I don't know if I want to attack in right now. I think I can afford it here. If it's just like Opt or something, we can start from scratch and kill off the Pledge Mage. If it's like a big combat trick, it's a little sad, but... Alright, it's nothing. We do get that damage in, which is good. I still feel that we're on the aggressive. Star Pupil, start from scratch here. Okay, so we did get rid of the flying, so Biblioplex Assistant could be important here. Scurrid Colony, never mind, that's a big old reach creature. They are just cracking back at us, alright. I like that energy. Combat Professor is a great draw, although does not let anything get in right now. Yeah, it does. It makes Blood Age General attack in as a 4/2. Yeah, we just dropped that out. Drop Biblioplex Assistant next turn, I think. Star Pupil's a pretty great blocker. We'll take the trade here. Varian Books. Put it back into our library. Sure. Slows us down a bit for sure. We do get the general back eventually. So the block I make here basically depends on whether or not I think they drew into an instant or sorcery. I mean, if they're making this attack, I feel like they did. I'm just going to block with Star Pupil, make Combat Professor bigger. We do get to crack back at them because their reach creature's tapped. Don't want to make the double block on the Pledge Mage and potentially get blown out that time. Alright, now I do like playing Biblioplex Assistant a lot here because they're dead in 3 turns if I can kill the Scurrid Colony. So just grabbing the removal that can kill it seems massive. And I'd actually rather grab the one that can't be countered and the one that potentially damages them a little bit. Hit for 6 here. We are dead next turn if we have either of our flyers still on board. Frost Trickster taps 1 down, so that will trade with Biblioplex Assistant. Keep them alive that way. We draw into our Blood Age General, so we get to play 2 more blockers here, so they're very unlikely to be able to outrace us. Oh my god, I had lethal because Tome Shudder has haste. Oh, I'm a big derp. I'm a big derp. We should have just played Tome Shudder and slammed in there. But my mind was just immediately on like, yeah, Blood Age General Pledge Mage. Wow. Yeah, Missed Lethal was potentially big here. Never didn't have it. Don't worry about it. I knew all along I would have drawn an Urza's Rage. I knew the whole time. Secretly. I hacked the game. That's why we chose the wrong place. Alright, 3 and 1 now for the aggressive Lorehold deck. 1,000 gems and a couple packs. No matter what. Would like to win one more game, get to that 1,400 gems we like to hit. Does seem like our most consistent record. Pretty much always like 4-3 on average. But that's where I like to be. Got like a 58-60% win rate in this format right now on Untapped or whatever. Which is basically just like 4-3 every time. Super average. I will keep this. We've got that great cheap removal, Heated Debate, and Urza's Rage. We have that Star Pupil turn 1, so we are attacking immediately. We have nothing to play on turn 2, so we can play our Lorehold Campus on turn 2 and not lose anything from playing a tapped land. Our opponent does start with a Lorehold Campus as well into a Conspiracy Theorist, so they are on red, white, and blue. America over there. Conspiracy Theorist, let's see. Pay 1 whenever it attacks to discard a card, draw a card, and they can even cast whatever they discarded if they discard a non-land card. Very good little draw engine, as well as just a solid little 2/2 for 2. Just take it here. We don't have anything to buff the Star Pupil to make this a trade, so it's definitely not worth the chump block. Kind of like playing our first striker here. They'll have to kill it or buff their Conspiracy Theorist if they want to attack into this creature because of the first strike. Yeah, if they play nothing here, I like just playing the first striker. We could also just blow up the Conspiracy Theorist right now, make sure it doesn't do anything, but if we just clutter up the board, it doesn't really do anything either. I like doing this pre-combat in case they have a Barog Befuddler, a 2/1 flash for 2 to trade with our Star Pupil. I guess it wouldn't trade because it shuts off its power, but if they kill the Star Pupil in any way there. And I'm not going to hold the Pupil for blocks because it just doesn't actually trade or anything. So they're trying to dig for something here based on their attacks, but this could also be a combat trick. I'm just gonna make the block here. Looks like it is an Infuriate. So we've traded a 1-for-1, trade Infuriate for our Lorehold Pledge Mage, which is fine. We can blow up the Conspiracy Theorist later. Do I want to do it right now? Kind of do. Kind of like using Heated Debate before Urza's Rage. I guess if I blow it up next turn, I get to blow it up and play into their creature, which is good. But they do get to draw another card here if they do it otherwise. Yeah, I don't really want them to keep drawing cards. actually, unfortunately, going to Urza's Rage instead of Heated Debate. I think the odds of us making it to the kicker on Urza's Rage are a lot lower than the odds of our opponent having a 4 toughness creature instead of a 3 toughness creature. Now they have a Lorehold Pledge Mage. Ooh, like getting a 4/4 Vigilant Menace out here. Definitely can't attack into that 2/2 First Striker, but the Relic Sloth sure can. Unless it gets Pigment Stormed. Goodbye, my friend. My beautiful Sloth. It's just always destroyed. Guiding Voice turns Star Pupil into a 2/2. And then when it dies, it puts both of its counters on something else. That is pretty good. I have the mana to Guiding Voice and cast a Silverquill Pledge Mage or a Blood Age General, but I can also just cast a bunch of creatures here, which is probably better. Hold off on the Guiding Voice until next turn. If I draw another land, then I can cast Guiding Voice and play 5 mana Lesson. So I could do that and Elemental Summoning, which would be great. So Mentor's Guidance copying itself allows them to scry 2, draw 2, and give the Lorehold Pledge Mage +2/+0 till end of turn. It's a really great draw spell there. If they attack in, we're easily going to take this because we have a Silverquill Pledge Mage to give lifelink. Slam, no blocks. Prismari Apprentice, we have Rip Apart to kill that. We could actually just kill both their creatures here if we really want to. Don't really think that's important. I think I want a Guiding Voice on the Star Pupil. Give this lifelink until end of turn. I could even just make it bigger here. It would be 3 toughness, so it can attack into that Prismari Apprentice. We gain a bunch more life. They could trade with one of these, but then if they trade with Pupil, I move the counters over. If they trade with Blood Age General, that's a fine trade. And I get to hold both these removal spells for something else. She does seem pretty sweet. I'm going to grab Expanded Anatomy here. And I guess I get to give it flying as well, just in case. But I do like having a permanently 5-power Silverquill Pledge Mage so that it does lifelink for a bunch for as long as it stays on our field. Although I guess we could have also put the counters on Blood Age General. That would have been another good line. Throwing the counters on the Blood Age General so it gets Vigilance, so it buffs its power when it attacks in, and the only thing that they could trade for would be Star Pupil, where we get to move those counters over. But I also do just have 2 removal spells coming up this turn, so we can definitely clear the board here. And I think I'm just going to go for it. I suppose I don't really need to kill the Prismari Apprentice unless they buff it. So I can just attack both here and then play the Eager First Year, save the Heated Debate for the next blocker if it's something more important. Although if they trade Star Pupil for Prismari Apprentice, that does just stack all my eggs into one basket on the Silverquill Pledge Mage if they kill it. Arcane Subtraction. -4, -0 when they learn. So they stop all the damage from that. Draw into a Mascot Exhibition. That's brutal. Best lesson in the game for sure in Limited, because it goes into any deck and it creates 3 creatures for 7. It's like a slightly better one of that Prismari spells. So they get a 4/4 3/2 and a 2/1. They have 6 mana right now, so they definitely have the 7th mana next turn. That is going to be not fun to deal with, that's for certain. So we're going to have a 7/5 Pledge Mage against all that stuff, so a Heated Debate. If they block with everything, we can like Heated Debate the 4/4 and kill the rest, but then it will still die. I think I'm cool with a 7/5 Pledge Mage. Because, yeah, I can also give Pledge Mage flying. I heated debate the only flying token they get out of the Mascot Exhibition. If they tap out for that next turn, they're actually just dead. So it's big and scary, but we can get around it because it only gives them one creature that can block a flyer. Just an inkling. So they have to definitely do like a removal spell this turn if they want to survive. But yeah, this card is sweet. Definitely take it every time you see it in draft. It doesn't matter what you're playing. Any color is going to have good learn spells. They just play the Ogre Battleseer. They only have 1 mana up. Is there anything for 1 mana that can stop the Pledge Mage? I really don't think so. So I'm just going to shoot that and give flying here. Yep, there's the concession. So it looks like they didn't even draw into the 7th mana for the Mascot Exhibition anyway. But if they had, thanks to it only making 1 flyer, I think we still would get there with the Silver Quill Pledge Mages. So we are 4-1, grabbing our 1,400 gems and a few packs out of this no matter what. Very great record here in the prizes. Playing against another high diamond player here. Would like to hit Mythic by the end of the month, as I have been doing each month so far. January, February, March. It's been pretty sweet. But I don't know how long we have left. What, we got like another week? This might be the first month where I don't hit Mythic this year, which would be a bit of a bummer. Because the first time I ever hit Mythic was January this year, so it'd be really cool to just go absolutely ham this year, hit that Mythic every month. We'll see where we end up. We're in Diamond now, so not too much farther to go, although the competition is fierce. I kind of like playing Blood Age General here, because I think the way we're going to curve out is Blood Age General into Pledge Mage into Combat Professor, and General's great with Combat Professor, getting an extra damage that way. If we're planning on casting Rip Apart and Guiding Voice earlier, then Eager First Year is the better first play. Really depends on if my opponent plays a creature in the early game here. If they play a creature, Eager First Year is going to be the better play, because we're going to want to rip it apart and then just like Guiding Voice, and that could be a lot of damage. But I'm thinking Blood Age General into Pledge Mage Combat Professor. That is our curve if we're just goldfishing here, just playing against somebody who's just drawing cards in the early game, which looks to be what they're doing here with an expressive iteration. So far, Blood Age General is ending up the better 2-drop. But we'll see. They could even just like play a Plains, then play a Star Pupil, and that would immediately start getting some creatures out. It looks like nothing there. Study Break is a great card to draw. That can absolutely close out the late game here. We are just going to drop our Pledge Mage, Splap for 2. We do need to draw another land to get that turn 4 Combat Professor. Maelstrom Muse is the play. Rip Apart, unfortunately, only doing 3 damage, so I do have to trade something up into that to kill that. I can Guiding Voice on Silver Quill Pledge Mage to make it big enough to trade into Maelstrom Muse. I do really want to kill that, because if that attacks, their next instant or sorcery costs 2 less. They can play a 7 mana instant or sorcery next turn if they play a land for the turn, which can just absolutely close this game out in their favor. So I think make the Pledge Mage big enough to trade with that. That has flying anyway, so no reason to give ours flying. And then for 2 mana here, we can't grab anything that'll kill it, but we could grab this Environmental Sciences to grab us a land. I don't think we'll want to do that, though, because we have all these 2 mana cards. We'd rather just play another creature out and try to out-aggro them while they're dumping big stuff. We just play Eager First Year if they don't block, and then Study Break. So I don't think we're planning on drawing a land for a long time here. We'd probably prefer just like an Expanded Anatomy to get some extra flying damage in with Pledge Mage later, or something like that. I'm going to offer the trades here. It is a 2-for-1 trade if they block the Blood Age General, but it's a 2-for-1 trade I'm willing to make because I'm very, very scared of their potential 7 mana cards they could just start dumping out on us next turn. That may have been like a little too scared there with the way we chose to play. But we'll see how things pan out. Tome Shredder, Pledge Mage. We can deal with all these. We can just fly over all this with a big old Pledge Mage. We can even Heated Debates on the Tome Shredder right now. They have one Expressive Iteration, so Tome Shredder's a 3-3 that can attack or block, which is better than a 3-3 that can only do it sometimes. So I think Heated Debate on Tome Shredder is fine here. We can also Expanded Anatomy on Pledge Mage. That kills them in 3 turns, because Expanded Anatomy makes the Pledge Mage a 6-2, a 6-4 flyer here. So we hit him for 6, put him to 8 life. So it's also pretty good. We don't really need to kill the Tome Shredder. Expanded Anatomy works better if they don't have removal, but if they do, it's not going to be great for us. Just play into it here. Get that flying, slam them down to 8. Just make them have the outs here. The Silver Quill Pledge Mage, I think, has single-handedly done the most work in this deck. At least has overperformed the most in this deck. I think, oh wow, we might actually just get there with the Silver Quill Pledge Mage this game as well. But yeah, out of like everything else, like the Heated Debates and stuff have obviously been incredible, but we already knew those were incredible. I kind of like casting Study Break here, because it doesn't matter what instant or sorcery I cast. I just give flying here and slap for 6. So if I cast Study Break, I can learn, and so I can discard a card to draw a card and try to hit another mana, and if I do, I can cast a 2-drop. So we can discard like Historian here. It also gives me another instant or sorcery to cast next turn, which is nice. We're just going to give flying this turn. So, like, we can learn if we want to grab something else to cast next turn. But I think I would rather just try to draw land by discarding Illustrious Historian. Yeah, I just want to discard Historian here. Because we have another flyer once we hit 4 mana as well, which is massive. So put him down to 2. Also, drawing a card from deck instead of sideboard gets us closer to Urza's Rage, which would immediately kill them. Alright, they have 2 cards in hand. They've got a good amount of damage on board to start racing. And yeah, I was going to say if I were them, I would just slam an all attack, because if I have a removal spell would be an instant or sorcery, so the Pledge Mage is going to get flying anyway, so it doesn't really matter the number of blockers. And let's see, do we get there? Give flying here. And there's the concession, alright. Wow, that was a rough game for our opponent. Definitely just one removal spell would have put us off of it there, just a Heated Debates or the 5-mana removal spell I forgot the name of, but unfortunately our opponent just did not have that, just a bunch of blockers on the ground. The ability to give flying to that Pledge Mage being absolutely phenomenal throughout that game. We are on the play here. We have Lumimancer with a Learn spell. That's the plan. We could make it a 4/5 in the late game. That could be a really good turn. But also our turn 3 could be incredible if we have to kill something, because turn 1 Lumimancer, turn 2 Eager First Year, turn 3 Heated Debate and slam in for just a ton. That could absolutely be a real start to a game here. I guess we just hit for 5. That's not like an absolute ton. Ooh, this is not going to be a great matchup for us. We're against a Witherbloom deck with a Pest token already and life gain from Environmental Sciences, so they are already all set up to gain a bunch of life throughout this game. I think we just Study Break to stay aggressive here, and we can grab a Lesson to cast as our 4-drop. I guess we can cast Biblioplex Assistant as our 4-drop, but that's not great when we don't have something we want to return, and I definitely don't want a Heated Debate right now. So just to keep things going here, I think I tap those two, likely grab a Lesson. We have 4 mana for sure. I kind of like Inkling Summoning to give us a flyer. It's also an instant source sheet to buff these. Yeah, I like just grabbing the flyer here. And we can play that next turn instead of the Biblioplex Assistant because it's just as big, and I don't really want to put a Study Break on top, I think. Blood Researcher is the play. Very likely to get very big. I'm pretty scared. I think I want to Heated Debate that, actually, just before it has any opportunities to get any bigger. They have 2 power worth of creatures out here, so I think I'm just attacking with the Lumamancer. If I attack with Eager for Issue, they can double block. That's a pretty good trade for them, because they gain a life and they have this to be able to draw a card later. Just chilling in their grave. Demogoth Woe Eater. They have to sacrifice a creature at the beginning of their upkeep, but when they sacrifice the Demogoth, we have to discard a card, they draw a card, and they gain 2 life. But for now, they have the creatures to sacrifice if they want to keep the 7/6 on board, and that definitely stops our aggression pretty well. It's a pretty fantastic blocker. I guess Study Break would be a good card to draw into coming up here. Maybe we do throw that on top and get a flyer out this turn. Yeah, against this kind of Witherbloom deck, Menace isn't going to be great. I just throw a Study Break on top. Go for that double spell next turn, cast a Study Break and a 3-mana Lesson. Maybe an Expanded Anatomy again. They're going to sacrifice the Demogoth immediately to draw a card, gain some life. I think I just discard the Relic Sloth then. Professor of Zoomancy. Alright, we're definitely going for flyers this game. Study Break can shut off 2 of their blockers, which definitely makes these 2 be able to get in well. This is going to be 3 power at least by casting 1 spell, so I could actually just shut off the Unwilling Ingredient and 1 Pest, and then I'm casting 2 spells this turn to buff Lumamancer twice. So that'll be a 4/5. They have to double block with both, and we kill both if they want to kill that. That seems pretty good. I actually don't want to tap the Professor of Zoomancy because I'd like to kill it. I think... Do I really want Expanded Anatomy here? Because I'm just going to play another flyer this turn. So it's kind of like, what do I want to play next turn? I mean, honestly, probably Expanded Anatomy because we just want to make our flyers as good as possible. For now, we're just going to cast an Inkling Summoning. We're going to do it pre-combat to get those extra buffs. Send in the team. We're going to trade our 2/2 into the 4/3, so that's pretty nice. They're at 9, but they can gain quite a bit of life. They gain 2 off of Environmental Sciences and 1 every time one of their pests dies. But we've got 4 power in the sky right now. We can turn that into 6 power in the sky off of our Expanded Anatomy. They've learned for an Inkling Summoning of their own, so they can get a 2/1 flyer. Luckily, a 3 toughness flyer is big enough to keep attacking in, thanks to Expanded Anatomy. So I'm actually going to turn the Inkling token into the bigger flyer here, because in a green deck they could have the like Destroy an Artifact lesson and stuff like that. If I attack all here, they can triple block Lumamancer. We can kill both the pests just to whittle down their field a bit, but we do lose the Lumamancer. Doesn't seem great. Probably just the flyers. Down to 9 now. Another cram session. Definitely really gaining the life here. They have another Inkling summoning, that's disastrous. Fractal summoning's not that bad for us. Does give them a clock of their own. Ooh, Eye Twitch is awful. 1/1 flyer, and when it dies, they learn again. Why didn't they cast Inkling summoning is the question. What are they holding up here for 4 mana? I don't know, but I don't really think that I can attack with Biblioplex Assistant anymore because it just trades down into an Eye Twitch and they learn. If I attack with the 4/3, if they have a pump spell, it's bad, but the 4/3 is already going to be able to die to the 1/1 flyer and the 2/1 flyer. Just hope they don't have it here. They're just like saving the mana for a draw spell of some form. Yeah, infuse with Vitality, that's pretty much game. Opponent just has gained probably like 20 life over this game at this point. Gain life off Environmental Sciences number 1 and 2. Gain life off of Pest Tokens. Gain life off Infuse. Demagoth. Double Cram Session for 8 life gain. This is just really not the matchup for us. A ton of small creatures to clutter up the board and trade off with their stuff, and a boatload of life gain. So that is just going to do us in here. We still have a couple turns to survive here. We can chum block the 7/7 twice and just take damage from the other creatures. Historian gives us multiple chump blocks, which is good. We need 7 mana total to do that, so I don't have to play this land here. Chump block with the 2/1 turned into the 3/2. Probably do have to just trade with the Inkling at this point. Maybe should have even done it last turn. Rise of Extus, you got it. So we take 3, 4, 5, 6 here, not dead yet. That is going to be game. So that puts us to 5 and 2. So next round could be the final round, but no matter what happens. Got a pretty good record, definitely going up in Diamond, even if we lose the next round here. Lots of rewards as well, 1,600 gems out of the 1,500 gem entry fee. Another mythic player it'll be for round 8, which could be the final round if we lose here. I am going to keep this. We've got our 2-drops, a 2-drop removal spell. We've got plenty early game plays, which gives us the time to draw into more lands. We even draw into the 1-drop Star Pupil here to get things started. Our opponent's on Silver Quill here. Starts with a Plains and a Swamp into a Stone Rise Spirits. Don't exactly want to throw a removal spell at that, but our Star People can't attack in well now. I think we just play our 2/2 because the 2/2 attacks into it well, whereas the 1/2 flyer would just get blocked by it every turn. They are going to send in, so we're down to 19. And a Closing Statement to kill one of our creatures, throw a counter on one of theirs. Very, very good spell. Fantastic Silver Quill removal spell there. So now, I mean, now it's a 2/3 flyer, so I sort of want to rip apart But I'm also only stopping like 2 damage by doing that. So it's not that important to do it immediately, although Stone-Rise Spirit doesn't really add any power to our board anyway. Yeah, I guess I'll do it now just in case. They are in Silver Quill, so that is the color pair, white-black, where they have a lot of +1/+1 counters. So if they try to make that any bigger, we won't be able to kill that later. And there's a Combat Professor. We do have a Pigment Storm to kill that, or just draw into a Heated Debate. That works too. Combat Professor, definitely a kill-on-sight kind of threat. So just keep chipping away for 1 damage a turn, throw in removal spells at whatever they drop, as long as we can. We have 4 mana now, so we can play a Biblioplex Assistant, which throws one of our removal spells back on top. I think it's the best card to play here because of its power, but I don't know what we put on top. Probably just Heated Debate, right? But the problem is I have 5 mana cards to play after this, so I kind of want to draw land still, so maybe I do just play Stone-Rise Spirit and just hope to draw land first. I don't really want to play Biblioplex Assistant without putting something on top. That feels super wrong. Because like we just up the amount of removal in our deck by throwing a Heated Debate back. Yeah, I'm going to grab a Heated Debate. I'm not actually certain that it's the right thing to do, but it just feels so wrong to not. Opponent has 3 cards in hand, 6 mana available, so it's time for the Rise of Extus. Very popular removal spell in the format. Exile a creature and learn. Definitely gets you way back into the game once you hit the late game. Removes whatever you need and draws you a lesson from the sideboard. Plus with the hybrid mana cost, anybody in Lorehold can play it off of their white mana, and anybody in Witherbloom can play it off the black mana, so it's not even strictly a Silver Quill card. Just have an Introduction to Prophecy as their lesson here. So it's not as bad as it could have been. Could have been like a mascot exhibition. That would have been absolutely terrifying. And pretty devastating as well. So here's the introduction. Opponent might be on just a handful of removal right now, digging to find some creatures of some form. That being said, all of our creatures we've drawn are just like 1/1s and 1/2s, so there's no pressure on them. They've got the time. Unwilling Ingredients, just a little 1/1 menace, that's fine. Draw another Rip Apart here. I'm definitely not killing that. I don't super want to offer the trade either, but I guess I just make my Stone-Rise Spirit a 2/3 if that happens, which is fine. Yeah, this is a fine trade if it weren't for the fact that they probably are just going to kill Stone-Rise Spirit with a removal spell. Because it is like trading up. Like Star People's just a 1/1. We're trading into a 1/1 with Menace, but both of these get a little bit of value when they die. Unwilling Ingredient can draw a card for some mana, and Star People gets to throw a counter on something else. So, it's pretty debatable. Ooh, there's the 5th land, but it does come into play tapped, so I don't get to kill the Witherbloom Pledge Mage immediately. But I'm definitely not going to chump block that with my Stone-Rise Spirit. We'll just keep getting in. Opponent has 7 mana now. I would definitely expect the Unwilling Ingredient to draw them a card now. There it goes. They're down to 12 because that does cost them a life, but Witherbloom Pledge Mage gains life every time they cast an instant or sorcery, so that's likely to make up for that. I think our plan now is if they play a a toughness 4 or less creature, we'll Heated Debate it. If they don't, we'll just Pigment Storm their Pledge Mage, and then we'll start dumping out like Relic Sloth. We do take 5 here, down to 14. And yeah, we're definitely killing the Witherbloom Pledge Mage here. Not only is it a great attacker, it's a very good blocker, and it gains life. So it's just by far going to be one of the biggest things we could kill with that. Now we get to cast our Relic Sloth and hold up 2 mana for a Rip Apart if they flash in a creature during our main phase. But that is not happening here. I could start scrying. I have enough mana to scry and cast a Rip Apart. We have a good amount of like 2 mana creatures in our deck, so if we hit any of those, we could cast those after a scry as well. Yeah, if they play something that I want to rip apart, like a Silver Quill Apprentice, I'll go for the scry and the upkeep. Because our plan this turn is to just rip apart. Although it's possible they haven't been playing a lot of spells because they have a bunch of stuff that like makes their creatures better. That would be awkward if it's some kind of pump spell, combat trick, that kind of thing, to save it from the rip apart. I don't actually want a clever Lumimancer. I think I tried the Lumimancer thing today, and that was enough. We tried it one time. Do I go for the Rip Apart in the main phase? Doesn't really matter, does it? Because the Sloth has Menace? Yeah, let's just see what happens here. Looks like we are just killing that. This should hit for 4. Alright, down to 9. They know what we have in hand. I guess we could have Heated Debate instead, so they wouldn't know what we have in hand, but Heated Debate can kill more things by doing 4 damage instead of 3. Although Rip Apart can get rid of artifacts, enchantments, I don't think that will be likely to matter. Cram Session is the play here. We'll see what they learn for. Expanded Anatomy make their next creature a really big threat. Combat Professor with enough mana to cast that immediately, so it is out of Heated Debate range. Well, I hate that. And I forgot to set the stop on my upkeep. I wish it would just stay there forever after you set it. Maybe there's a way to do that, but I'm still not informed on it for sure. Well, luckily Relic Sloth does have Menace, so we get to keep slamming in for 4 every turn, even if they have a Combat Professor. Although it is a race now against a deck that has been shown to have life gain, Witherbloom, Pledge Mage, and Cram Session. So I'm a little scared. Just because it's kind of a race here against someone who might gain more life. But as it stands, we're winning the race. We even have a Heated Debate backup in our hand. Actually, we are losing the race, aren't we? Because this has Vigilance, so the Historian isn't actually getting in. I guess because of Heated Debate it is, because if they block Historian, we kill that with Heated Debate. So yeah, we're doing fine right now. Eager First here? Yeah, I'll draw another creature here. Phase next. Attack both. If they block, we get to Heated Debate. If they don't block, they are dead next turn, thanks to me playing another creature here. Alright. Yeah, Eager First here does win the race for us. We attack all 3, they can only block 1. So they have to have a Pump Spell or some kind of life loss right now. We'll see which way this goes after the GG. Leech Fanatic is the play. Don't know if that was a GG, they're going to beat us. It's a GG, they're going to beat us. We lose 4 from Tendrils of Agony. Really finished off by the Storm card here. Brutal way to end it. So 5-3 it is, but some very close games even on the losses today. Quite a solid deck overall, nice aggressive lore hold pile, and it will get us more than we paid in out of the draft, so not a bad way to go at all. We also have 10,000 gold for the next draft just from dailies and all that, so that'll be nice. See what we get in our pack opening at the end. As always, we've got Gnarled Professor. Surprisingly, my first copy. This is a fantastic limited card, so I would have assumed that I'd have drafted this by now, but I suppose I have been playing a ton of red and not much green. I've been playing Lorehold and Prismari, just a boatload, so. But I don't feel I've seen many of these in draft either, but this is a really good card. 4 mana for 5/4 trample and learn a lesson. Super, super solid. The negate out of the Mystical Archive, not particularly exciting though. Here we have Semester's End. This is way too much text. And a Grape Shot. Okay, I thought that said first. I was going to say that's definitely not my first Grape Shot. I've definitely drafted that a few times. It's just a solid removal spell. Exile any number of creatures and planeswalkers you control. At the end step, return them to the battlefield with an additional counter. Alright, yeah, that's just like a commander staple kind of card. Because you use that in response to a Wrath of God or something. Definitely not something for limited, I would say. And 2 more to go. We got Pestilent Cauldron and Restorative Burst. And Weather the Storm. Kind of the weakest storm card. It's like the anti-storm a lot of the time. And the final rare for us today is a Cody Vociferous Codex. Really funny card. I haven't tried to draft a Cody deck yet because they are pretty difficult. You want a pretty high non-permanent spell count, so a lot of instants and sorceries, because anytime that you draw Cody and have Cody out, you can't cast permanents, and also Cody does let all of your instants and sorceries cascade, which means when you spend a 5 mana one, you reveal cards from the top until you hit one that costs 4 or less, and then cast that for free. If you cast like a 7 mana one, you grab something with 6 or less, so all of your instants and sorceries like double spells, so you want a lot of them in the deck, you want a lot of them at various mana costs, you want definitely some cheap ones, so that when you're playing 3 mana spells, you're getting a 2 mana one, when you're playing... you want some big expensive ones like 6 mana ones, so you might be able to get 5 mana ones out of it. Definitely a very, very hard card to draft around correctly, but when you do so, it's incredibly powerful. So it's not something I expect to play with super often, but I'll probably try it one time in a draft. So, ending the video right where we started off with that Cody Vociferous Codex. But that will end today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to see more of this, if you enjoy the content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of the good things that let the YouTube algorithm know that you're enjoying the content and want to see more. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again very soon for some more Magic Arena.